Hello, Ruby Ravel here, ready to unravel some stars with my celestial sewing kit. Now, today I wanted to talk about the quincunx, very fun word to say, between Mercury, Venus, and Uranus, as this is quite a rare aspect and has strange effects that are quite fun to explore. Now, the quincunx is an 150-degree aspect between two or more planets, which means that it has this kind of sudden motion to it in terms of connecting things that are basically disconnected. It adjoins signs together that have no commonalities and no common attributes whatsoever. And therefore, you have this weird juxtaposition of incongruous energies where very unstable, very unusual, but sometimes inspiring things can happen. It's also a very quick aspect in that it has quite a small orb of influence. So whereas with the bigger aspects like the trine and the opposition and the square and the conjunction, you have this gradual build-up of tension before the culmination and then the release. There's none of that with the quincunx. It's just suddenly something happens that had almost no foreshadowing whatsoever, and then it might depart just as abruptly, but still leaving those fascinating shockwaves and ripples in its release. And so some astrologers have described the quincunx as being a fated aspect, in that these things happen so suddenly but so solidly that they feel like they've been staged managed in some way, that something has artfully produced those things to happen. We have a sudden loss, or someone suddenly comes into our life, all these very abrupt things that feel meaningful because they were so unforeseen. Um, and that surprising aspect is doubled once you get Uranus on the equation, because Uranus is already related to this experience of bringing new life into our lives via disruptive shocks. See, the thing is, once most of us have gotten to a certain stage in our lives, we have our status quo, we have our humdrum, we have our normal, we have our little rituals that carry on in clockwork, or which we attempt to maintain and keep in this kind of fixed, frozen posture. So when we already have so many existing commitments in our lives, sometimes the only way we can actually still grow and allow new energy into our lives is for there to be some kind of shock, for there to be a disturbance, an intrusion, an accident, or just a sudden rupture, a sudden opening that makes it possible for us to do something new if our old commitments are taken away. And so that in that sense, Uranus is a revolutionary planet. He is meant to cut away energies or ties or commitments that have become stagnant, that have become dull, that have become outmoded. And this includes perceptions of ours that are keeping us trapped in the past. And then to bring us into contact with ideas, with people, with experiences and circumstances which force us to look at life in a different way. Uranus was the sky god with a thunderbolt that sent us this sudden flash of inspiration that is shocking and terrifying sometimes, and can sometimes manifest in crises and accidents, but can also be this sudden illumination of awareness, where all these things that were previously shadowy and clouded in this one wonderful moment, everything makes sense in this big holistic way. It might not be a very long lasting flash, but it gives us this revelatory shock, this regenerative force that says there's something interesting over there I haven't explored before, and now I really want to. So I think with Uranus there, coming from so sideways an angle, and also there being a sextile with Saturn at the same time, there's a weird mixture of energies to balance there. Because Uranus is quite happy for us to be crazy, for us to do something wild and radical and unusual and irresponsible, all in the name of growth. But Saturn at the same time is also asking us to be those same things, to not run off the rails, to not do anything crazy and impulsive, to think about the sensible things, to think about the long term. And so there has to be this kind of push and pull between how foolish and spontaneous and crazy do we allow ourselves to be while still also trying to preserve and nurture what we already have? How do we do that? I don't know. Just enjoy talking about these energies with you. And oh, don't let my cheeks look rosy. Anyway, much more I could say on that, but I will leave it there for now. Any questions or queries, come to Mama Ruby, and I will do my best to titillate you. Lots of love.